4 we were playing earlier.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, is it really the taco meat, or because I know they said it was something in the taco meat, like it's made out of fat, so that's why everyone has like bubble guts.
All right, everybody, welcome to Hot Couch Potato, the podcast where we talk about video games and the perfect conditions to take a doo-doo in. My name is Brent, aka Boo-Wop. I'm here with my man's Rick, aka Shy Tank 88. What's going on, man?
Not much. Everything's going pretty good, pretty smooth. So, how's your weekend going?
So far so good, man. So far so good. You know, Game of Thrones. I'm a huge fan of that show. The newest episode just leaked. The one that's supposed to air. I'm not gonna spoil it, but the one that's supposed to air tomorrow. Today's Saturday the 5th. That's supposed to air tomorrow on Sunday. It leaked on maybe Thursday night.
Oh no!
So as soon as I got home on Friday, you know, actually, we won't talk about it. But let's just say I can't wait for tomorrow's episode, dude. It's gonna be amazing, man. It's gonna be amazing, dude. When was the last time you watched that show? I know you watched a little bit of it, right?
Yeah. I caught up to the last season. I just don't remember exactly what happened at the end of the last season, but okay. I know that I want to power through the Game of Thrones like once it's all done, so that way, because I know I'm gonna marathon it real quick. If I just start now and I'm gonna be like, damn it, left off on a cliffhanger like it usually does, and I gotta wait till next Sunday, and you know, it's like depending if I have internet or where I'm gonna be, if I'm able to watch it. It's gonna drive me crazy.
Yeah, man, that show is a phenomenon. It's crazy, man. I think, oh no, it won't be on. I just want to see what it's like if Game of Thrones is on during the NFL season. You know, all the games in the NFL are on Sundays, or most of them are. So I want to see. That was a big deal when The Walking Dead had higher ratings than the NFL. So I wonder if Game of Thrones versus the NFL, dude, which one would win it out? I like to think Game of Thrones would, because that's like an international audience, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's not that many episodes left. I think in total there's 15. There's going to be 7 this season. They're already halfway through it, starting tomorrow. And then next year, is going to be 8 episodes. So,
shit. Did you see those? There's a couple videos that came out with the cast members of Game of Thrones, like the one with Jon Snow, and he's like having dinner with like a normal family. Did you see that?
No, dude.
No.
Just randomly? Is he at a restaurant? He just sits with them, or what?
No. It's like a gag thing going on, but he's like sitting with the family, and he's like trying to start conversation, and the people are like asking him questions. He's like, "Oh yeah, what does your father do?" and stuff like that, and he was like, "My father was cut. He had his head chopped off."
So he was acting as Jon Snow, dude?
Yeah, exactly. As, you know, talking with the family and all. But maybe I can find that link and show you. And then another thing that was going on is Conan O'Brien was playing Overwatch with
I've seen that
Cersei.
One. Yeah, with Cersei and Tyrion.
And Tyrion, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, that was pretty sick. And they're all like checking out Widow's butt.
Oh yeah. I remember that. I love it when Conan does those. It's called Clueless Gamer. He has a segment, and you know, Conan's not really into video games, but he has this intern or someone that works with him that's really into video games. So they always play games, you know, before they come out. It's called Clueless Gamer because Conan O'Brien doesn't know what the hell he's doing. What was one that he played that was hilarious? I think he played Fallout 4, whichever the newest one was. And that was hilarious. And then he played Mortal Kombat or something with a couple players from the Patriots and the Seahawks, and they were just cringing at all the fatalities and shit like that, dude.
Yeah,
it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing, dude.
But I'm like glad that he's like integrating that into his show, like gaming. You know?
Yeah. Especially since he does that big thing at a Comic-Con. I think for that week, at least for Thursday, Friday, he films his episodes in San Diego, you know, and just has everybody come out. So I think Danny actually watched it live this year, didn't he?
Yeah, and then he said that you got a like a free Funko Pop for attending the show. So
yeah, and those sell for a lot, dude. Because they did the same thing last year. Conan O'Brien dressed up as a superhero or something, and they came out with a Funko Pop of him as that superhero. I forget what the name is, but I remember people were trying to trade it, and they ended up selling it for like hundreds of dollars, dude.
Jeez.
So I wonder how much that Funko Pop that Danny got is. I think there's 3 total because he has 3 episodes that he films here, so it's got to be interesting, man. That Funko Pop hustle is real, man.
So I know, and it continues to grow with all the characters coming out.
Yeah, that's for sure. How's your weekend been, man? I know you're down here in San Diego. How are you enjoying this caca weather we're having, man?
You mean great weather? Actually, it became caca when the sun came out, but when I was driving down here, like it was pretty sunny in LA, and it was like kind of hot. And then as soon as I hit like Mission Valley area, it started to get cloudy, and then as soon as I got closer to the house, it was like getting super dark, and I was like, damn, this is a sign that this is perfect weather. And
oh my god.
and it's welcoming back.
It's welcoming you back. I just don't like it because it's muggy, you know what I mean? It's that's
humid,
the thing, right?
Like when I came home, it was just the house was so hot, so I had to open the windows, and then it's like cold outside, so I was like, man, I don't like this kind of muggy cold weather.
Yeah,
I just wanted it to be all cold, and you go in your little blankie and eat some popcorn.
Oh, so how about this, right? I used the AC a lot in my last place. We had solar panels, solar energy, so it was crazy. Our electric bill every month was like 25 cents. Sometimes the electric company, SDG&E, paid us because we were generating a lot of electricity because of solar panels, right?
Yeah.
So we ran AC 24/7 in my place. Jeez. I felt so guilty, right? When I would have the AC pumping, I would go outside and hang out for 2 minutes and sweat my balls off. Then I'd go back inside, right, and enjoy the AC. But then when I'm going to sleep, I leave the AC on, but I get cold. So I put on a hoodie and sweatpants.
And a blanket.
And I go under the blanket, dude. It's like 92 degrees outside, 54% humidity, and I'm freezing in my house, dude. I would always feel bad. I'd be like, oh, man.
Dude.
Why don't I just turn down the AC?
Dude, that is exactly what's going on at the place I'm at. It's like Marnelli likes to keep the AC on all night. And I am in my wrapped in my blanket, wrapped in a jacket. I'm like, dude, I am freezing my balls off.
And then the moment you step outside, open a window or turn it off, it's so hot, dude.
It's super hot.
It's so bad, bro. So bad.
And I was like, geez, why can't we just turn off the AC and use regular fans? But nah, it has to be all on all the time.
Yeah. That's too funny. I feel so guilty when I do that sometimes. But yeah, it's been a weird week weather-wise. Gaming-wise, how's it been for you, man? What have you been playing this week?
So last week I was I started playing Bloodborne again.
That's right.
And my goal what I said last time was to go up to the top of the tower and whoop the shit out of whoever's shooting the crap out of me.
Of course. That's the only thing you gotta do in that game.
Yeah! But it turns out, like, I couldn't even beat whatever was shooting me, and I thought it was the first monster I encountered up there. But you were telling me that he was only like a guard, one of the guards to the actual person that's actually shooting stuff. So now I'm like replaying the game just so I can go back to that particular area and whoop the shit out of that person because I ended up beating the game last time and I streamed it for a little bit, but
yeah,
I was getting my ass whooped for a while because you even saw, like, I came close to dying. I used all 20 potions and I was like almost down to like nothing, just like one more hit and I would have like died and had to restart and recollect all the potions again.
Yeah, German's crazy, man.
Yeah, and I remember like a lot of people back in the day were saying like, oh yeah, he's the easy boss and he's easy to counter. I'm like, dude, either I'm growing old or I suck at this game because I cannot counter him for the life of me,
It's just, I guess, it's knowing his attacks, and when he's gonna be vulnerable for a parry. Dude, I remember I was sweating so much when you were playing, man. Just gotta get so close. And I remember you tried to shoot him, but you didn't have any bullets. So
yeah,
sat there and looked at your gun. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna die. He's gonna die. And you got out like right in the nick of time, dude.
Yeah, exactly. But right now, I just I guess I'm starting new game plus.
Okay.
So I beat the game and I started with all my gear, and I was playing with the scythe. And at first I was like, man, the scythe is doing like no damage and it's very slow, and I was like disappointed because the entire time I was building my character to be spec to use that scythe.
Mm-hmm.
But then as soon as I leveled it up to the same level as my katana, dude, I was kicking ass. Like its R2 or its strong attack would knock a lot of people off their feet, especially like big guys too. And I went through the first 2 bosses like easy without like dying. Like Father Joe and I forgot the guy with the the other guy with the giant masturbating arm. But
Father Joe. He's Father Gascoigne.
Yeah.
His name isn't even close to Joe.
It's close in my book because everybody's a father in that game. So I'm like, man, I just gotta defeat whoever is against me.
Oh my god, dude.
But it's pretty cool rocking the scythe because it's slow but it hits hard.
Mm-hmm.
So so that's one of the games I'm playing. 2 more games I'm playing on my iPhone is normally I don't play games on my iPhone because I don't think I have the time, but since I have no internet, might as well. I'm playing a rom-com Sims game and it's called Ninja Girls.
Wait, is this a dating sim on your phone?
Yeah, exactly.
Holy
exactly.
Shit, dude.
So it's all right, but basically you're a ninja or whatnot, and you're in this club, and this club is trying to find out more about the existence of ninjas. But my goal is to, I guess, start dating one of the girls. And then the other game is something similar. It's like you build your girlfriend or whatnot. It's like a dating Sims kind of thing.
You build your girlfriend? Is she a robot
yeah,
or something?
like you just customize her looks, her hair, and whatnot. And I'm like, dude, I am pretty like spontaneous and bored. So I guess I've been putting off like the major games. So that leads to my next game. I actually started playing Zelda, dude. Breath of the Wild.
Oh, that's right, because you got the Switch now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, holy shit, dude. That game is fucking amazing. I barely even done anything in the Breath of the Wild. Like, I was just going through the tutorial and start getting accustomed to the new world and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's completely different from what you, like, watch on trailers or people play. Like, you feel so immersed on the mechanics of the game, of what to do. I spent an hour climbing trees. I was like grabbing apples and shit like that, and then I was like, holy shit, there's a super big ass tree, and I'm gonna climb the shit out of that tree. But I didn't know there's a stamina bar when you're climbing stuff. So as soon as you start climbing, your stamina starts running down.
Mm-hmm.
So right when I get to near the top of the tree, my stamina runs out. So I'm like, fuck, I gotta build more stamina. And then you like just fall off the tree. So I spent a good hour just climbing trees. And then I decided to chop down the tree because I couldn't climb the tree. So I spent most of my time doing that. And then when I went into the Temple of Zelda area, it was fucking amazing. Like there was like a rusty sword in the middle of like a lake. And I felt pretty immersed with the mechanic of like swimming, climbing the mountain, climbing the hill just to get that sword. Even though the sword, I don't even know if it's worthy or not for me to be carrying it. But dude, Breath of the Wild is completely amazing. Like,
so that game, the world is just open to you, right? After it starts, you could just do whatever you want, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And you have an indicator telling you go here, go there, and whatnot. But I spent most of my time not even going to the first checkpoint. I was like going the opposite direction, you know? It was like saying, go here to activate a tower. And I was like, fuck that. I'm going to go climb this mountain with snow, you know? But it's completely amazing, you know? It's just, I would definitely recommend playing that game, but I know that you have to wait until more games come out before you can even purchase a Switch. So that is definitely a game that like really blew my expectations, because you know I was thinking, oh man, I might be overhyped. Just thinking about this game, hearing so many people praise the game, and I was like, oh my god, it really, I can see why, you know. And this is only on the tablet. I haven't even put it in the dock because I don't have the dock for it, but it's crazy just playing that. And then the last game that you were recommending was the Brave Fencer Musashi.
Yes, dude, the best, bro.
Dude, when you showed me that game is fucking amazing. Amazing. You know, it's just the mechanics, just I was completely immersed at the title screen, you know, or it was that crazy where it's just like, dude, I miss this kind of feel for this kind of game. But yeah, and those are the games I am playing.
And the only thing that sucks is, you know, we played maybe just the first portion of it, the first chapter, which is more or less a tutorial and sets the tone of the story and everything. Yeah, and that's just great in itself, is that first chapter already, dude.
And exactly, and it told so much with so little dialogue, you know.
Yeah, there's full voice acting in it, which is cool, which helps with the immersion as well. It's just sad that you can't even download it on the PlayStation Store, man.
I know, I was so surprised. I was like,
only play it on a disc. It's crazy.
I would download it right now if it was in the PlayStation Store.
Dude, yeah,
it was pretty. It hooked me pretty good.
Yeah, I think the only thing maybe is, since it's SquareSoft, there might be some weird licensing issues.
But they let Xenogears, yeah.
Oh, that's true too, huh?
So I don't know, but you're like this cool samurai. You're whooping ass, and I don't know. It's, even though it's like sprite level, it's still very good with the immersion.
Yeah, dude. It's my favorite game. Remake, somebody please, dude. Remake that.
You gotta remake Final Fantasy VII first.
That's true. And we were just watching that today, the announcement or the reveal trailer at E3 2015. How crazy is that? That it was announced over 2 years ago now. At PlayStation Experience 2015, they showed gameplay. The first mission where you blow up the first reactor, you know, they showed some fights and Cloud and Barret stuff. Biggs Wedge, they showed everybody in that first mission, and then it's 2017. We haven't heard things since. It's kind of wild, man.
Well, hopefully they're gonna be showing something at this current E3. You know, maybe they'll bring out more trailers for Final Fantasy, and we'll be in the crowd cheering it on. You know,
yeah, something, anything. They show anything. Yeah. If they show us some bullshit video about, oh, here is how we redid Cloud's hair because it's unrealistic for someone to have hair like this, that just always stands up. If it's some bullshit like that about how they textured his hair, I'll be pleased. The fact that they still care about it enough to talk about it and they're still working on it will make me happy. This silence game is hurting my feelings, man.
Yeah. You know, they should have like Sephiroth like dropping from the ceiling with the sword coming downwards, and then right before it hits, it just ends the trailer right there. I'm like, dude,
oh man,
fucking blew my panties off, you know.
That would be so epic, man. Because everybody knows what's gonna happen, but the fact they just cut it out, you're just like, oh god, dude, I need to get this fucking game.
Fuck.
But yeah, man, good times. I'm still playing Chrono Trigger, old school RPG. Came out on PlayStation, Super Nintendo. It's actually amazing how simple it is, dude, compared to games that we play now. I think I'm almost done with it. I'm not sure. I've put in, I think the counter says 12 hours I've put into the game. Again, turn-based RPG, where you travel through time and try to save the world. So this is what's broken about it, right? You're the main character. Your name's Chrono, and you stumble upon the ability to time travel with one of your friends. And it turns out that and a princess traveled back in time before you, so you travel back in time to go and save her and bring her back to the correct time. So you bring her back, and she's like, "Oh, I don't want to be queen. I don't like being royalty." So she runs off again and travels into the future this time, and you travel into the future too, and the future's just complete shit. You know, there's no food. It's a wasteland. Robots are taking over, and monsters and stuff, right? And throughout the progress, when you're in the future, you find out what happens, that a monster got summoned and it annihilated the earth. It got summoned in like 1999, right? A monster got summoned and destroyed the earth. And the people in that time frame, I think it's 2300 AD, they're struggling to find food and all this shit. So it sucks. And right there and then, you and your friends realize, man, we have to save the world. And it's like, why?
Damn.
It doesn't affect you. You know, the time period that all the main characters and stuff live in is like 600 AD. So it's way, way, way in the past, right? Why would they save the future? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, can't they just go in the past to change it before it gets to that point?
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing, right?
Oh, okay.
But we live in 600 AD. Well, the main characters will probably be dead
way
by 700 AD. Why do they care what happens in 1999, dude? But I guess just witnessing the suffering that happened from that calamity that monster brought upon the earth, it intrigued them to try and fix it, right? So I guess this is just a long-winded way for me to say that this story is about nothing. You could have saved the queen or saved the princess from when she traveled into the past, bring her back to the present, and you'd be all good. You just go home and live the rest of your days just hanging out. But no, you gotta get involved in way too much more than you should be. End up going into an RPG, dude. That's all Chrono Trigger is. But the game is fun. Like I said, the battle system before, it's the enemies moving around, and you yourself can't move around the battlefield, but the enemies can. And then when they clump all together, you can attack them all at once. But it's good times. The magic is super overpowered in it. I just unlocked Thunder 2, which does thunder damage to all the enemies that you're fighting against, regardless of where they are, and just one-shots everybody. So it's good times, man.
Is this game by Squaresoft or one of the old?
I think so, yeah, actually. It is by Squaresoft.
Damn.
Yeah, dude.
Squaresoft makes fucking great games.
They're the kings, man, of RPGs. It's wild.
Yeah. Jesus.
So I think I'm almost done. Another thing I appreciate about the game is it's a little bit predictable. Each time period you travel to, a person joins your party, right? But when you go back to the present, they don't go with you. They stay in their time period. So I thought that was cool. So it's not like, oh, hey, we met, you fought in my party with me. Now you get to join the adventure with me. That's not how it works. They gotta take care of shit in their own time, you know. So that's one thing I appreciate. They just don't find some bullshit excuse for people to join your team, you know.
Yeah.
So it's good times. Hopefully, I'm almost done with it. Like I said, I got a project involved with that game I will bring up here soon. Also playing Sleeping Dogs. I think I only put like an hour into it this week, so I'm lacking. I'm really just trying to finish Chrono Trigger first. That game is too fun though. It's just a beat 'em up at this point. I'm just running around fighting people, and it's funny because you're a cop, so you can't really mess around with the civilian population like that. You know, in Grand Theft Auto, you could run someone over, and that's it. You just ran them over. But in games like LA Noire, you can't really run anybody over because you're a cop, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same thing in Sleeping Dogs. You can't really break the law or go on rampages or anything like that since you're a cop. So I like that they limit it like that.
Can you go ham on the villains? Like,
oh
kill
yeah,
everybody?
yeah, dude. Like I said, you could throw people. It's interactive. You know your surroundings, so you could throw people into the wall, smash their head into a wall, throw them into a telephone booth, and kick them into the phone. And use the phone to beat the shit out of them, dude. It's great. It's good times, dude. The fighting is so good. Driving, not so good. The driving kind of sucks in that game. I think I mentioned that before, but the fighting is great. And then lastly, of course, Final Fantasy 14. Got to shout that out. Finally got my samurai to level 70.
Damn, already?
Yeah, man. I learned the combo so I don't get yelled at as much anymore. After getting yelled at by that tank, my morale was just so shot. But, you know, it made me bear down and actually learn the class, so that was good. So now, dude, I'm working on my white mage and healing.
Yeah, how are you liking it?
So the first ever dungeon I jump into, right? I mean, legitimately, I reached level 70, went to the Golden Saucer, gambled for a bit, and then changed into white mage and queued up for a dungeon. The first dungeon I get into as a white mage is Brayflock's Longstop, normal mode, since I'm only like level 30, and it was horrible, dude. The tank was new, and he didn't really know what he was doing, and I had to heal him so hard, dude. I wasn't even attacking. I was just healing, dude. I was crying. I was like, no, I can't let you die. Because at first I was nervous that he would blame me if he died. And he dies, but we still get through and beat the enemies. And he comes back and he's like, sorry, I'm new. I didn't know I couldn't pull that much, blah, blah, blah. So he's blaming himself. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not messing up. He's the one messing up. But it's awkward because we're getting to points, you know, Brayflock's Longstop. It's not a set path. You know what I mean? It's kind of an open map, and you kind of have to know where you're going in that map. So we were on that part in the middle where there's a bunch of bridges, and you're just supposed to go to the end to fight that salamander, right?
Yeah.
And the tank was kind of lollygagging around. And he's like, should we fight these guys? And everybody goes, oh, it's up to you, man. You're the tank. I mean, we're going to fight whatever you fight. And he's not really fighting anything, and he's lollygagging, and he goes into the little side areas, fights anything in there, then looks around. 5 minutes later, he pulls the whole room, which is like 30 enemies, and I go, okay, I guess we're going to farm this. So I'm healing him. Shit's not dying fast enough. I run out of MP, and everybody just dies, right?
Yeah.
So we all revive, and we go back, and the tank goes, can one of you guys just run ahead? I don't know where I'm going. So I was like, what the fuck, dude? Are you for real?
Oh, wow.
It was fucking crazy, dude. So I took him to the spot we needed to go. Fortunately, we killed all the enemies that were on the way to where we actually needed to go. So we just walked in there, fought the salamander. And then we got to the dragon, and the dragon actually has mechanics. You know, you can't just bullshit tank and spank him, right? You have to pull him out of his acid pools. You have to dodge his AoE. I have to take poison off of everybody that gets hit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And we got through this by the skin of our teeth. I mean, I think the tank used the limit break randomly, so we didn't have a level 2 limit break. We only had a level 1.
Oh no!
I'm running out of MP at this point, and the samurai or somebody, the melee DPS, limit breaks the boss, and the boss has a fourth of the life left. You know, he thought he was gonna kill him, but it wasn't enough. So I'm stressing. I'm like, oh god, I can't even do anything. I could just auto attack. The whole floor is filled with acid and shit, and I'm dying. I'm like, oh god. Right when I die, the tank dies, and there's 2 people left, and somehow they killed him.
Damn.
That was it, dude. And I was like, oh my god, I'm done. And I logged off for the night and went straight to sleep, dude. That dungeon by itself is so tiring, man.
Dude, that's how it's gonna be for the healer life. You're gonna have someone that doesn't know what he's doing, and he's gonna be dying and pulling things when he's not supposed to.
Nah, that won't be a problem, man, because I'm only gonna be healing for you now, dude. And I know you do your research, bro.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's why I only like to pull like one group at a time, but rest is like pull all of this room, and I'm like, oh, all right, you know, like, because I don't know the limitations of how well the healer can heal, so I just pull what I think I can chew.
Yeah, and I think I'll be like that too. Definitely, I've been in dungeons where people pulled the whole group up until the first boss. All the enemies up until the first boss.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I healed it okay. I mean, nobody died. You know what I mean? At that point, it's up to the DPS to kill everything fast. So, it just depends. I think as things get harder, more mechanics get involved, and the more abilities I get, and managing all that, especially with the new stuff. The new class actions, that were brought on in Stormblood. I think it'll be interesting to see how much more complicated it gets, because all the classes are easy, right? When you first start out, you have maybe 4 buttons you press and that's it. But as you get longer down the road with your level and the more abilities you learn, it gets more intricate on what you do. So I can't wait for that. I think it'll be interesting.
Exactly. How are you liking the queue time of like 10 seconds?
Oh, it's amazing, dude. It's amazing, because usually I queue and then I get up, go get some water, take a pee, and then come back.
An hour later.
But now I queue up and I'm about to stand up and it goes ching, and I go, oh, time to jump in this bitch. It's amazing, dude. I love it so much. From DPS to healer queue, it's amazing, man. It's amazing. I feel like I'm actually getting stuff done.
Yep, exactly.
So, it's good times for sure. But yeah, so that's all the games I've been playing. Last week we brought up the subject of old versus new video games, and I think it's changed. At least to me, it's changed. I think Rick, you for sure have experience with this since just playing Brave Fencer Musashi. Tell us about how that was different from games that are out nowadays or that are coming out now.
See, that's the thing. I really can't really pinpoint what exactly is completely different. Like, I know the game is different, the mechanics, the story, and the way things are presented, but I would like to say that for Brave Fencer Musashi, I was really immersed by the story and how it was presented. Like, even though there were sprites, it was just the way that the character developed within the first chapter. All of the characters, the surrounding support characters, the NPCs, they started building this world that I don't know of. And so, for my perspective on how old games were, I was like starting to think, like, how were they made and how did they present the game? And I feel like, I'm not sure, I know like there's a lot of games that do this, but back in the day, like, games used to have a world where they build as you go along, and for me it felt like the world is huge, and that's what got me solely stuck into every game, whether it's RPG or action, is like, you want to know what's over there, you want to adventure into the unknown, you want to journey, and while you're doing that, you have support characters like NPCs or random anybody, just they're building the story, they're building the world together with you. So like, you have your villagers that telling their side of the story of what they do on their daily lives, whether it's just waking up, and then the small things like that, the small mechanics, they also help build the game too, like whether it's a time inside a game, where it turns night and day inside of the game, like these things start to add up, and it makes me really enjoy the game even more. So for like the old games, like like your Brave Fencer Musashi, like my Xenogears, they're really good games back in the day, and there's really good games now too. But it's just the way that each side presents each game. I have a feeling that new games, they take the games in a different direction from how we were used to playing the games. Like, for example, I would say the things that are different between them are like character development. Sometimes you start off in the new modern games, you start off, you usually start off with some sort of power, some sort of weapon, some sort of gun, and you're rushed into action scenes, or you're rushed into building your character. But that to me felt like it was kind of linear versus back in the day. I know there's other games modernly that have open world stuff, but
yeah,
like back in the day, whether it's the games I used to play like Xenogears, Legend of Dragoon, Gene d'Arc, you know, you start off like a weakling and you started off grind. You had to grind your character, build your character from like complete scratch, um, into something super powerful while storytelling. And I know games do that these days, but it's just the way they do it is completely different from the old ways. Even though the graphics
yeah.
are all different, you know.
It's almost formulaic now, right?
Yeah,
Almost like they found the way a way to do that, and it works, and nobody really strays too far off of that path anymore. Um, but I definitely hear what you're saying because it feels different, even with I'd say the difference between Oblivion and Skyrim to me. I
yeah,
remember Oblivion, I was just totally immersed in. You know, you start off, you're um in prison with Picard from fucking Star Trek, and you break out and the world is yours. You know, you can do whatever you want. You have the main quest you can follow or walk around in any direction like Zelda, you know what I mean? Breath of the Wild.
exactly. Yeah,
Um and I felt super immersed in that. But then I played Skyrim thinking I would get the same kind of enjoyment out of it. And you know, oh, you're about to get executed. Oh wait, this dragon saves you. Oh, hang on, you're dragonborn, dude. You can do it all.
yeah,
It just didn't feel the same for whatever reason. I don't know
yeah.
why.
Exactly. And then that's what I was saying too, like with like Zelda Breath of the Wild, reminisced me. You know, like I was remembering how the games used to feel back in the day where it was open world where I can do anything I ever wanted. I can explore
Hmm.
because it felt so unknown to me. Like I can adventure and start my own adventure and start role playing. But I know there's a lot of games that follow that same formula, but it's just, I guess the way they present it is completely different, you know?
Hmm.
So, I was like I was researching actually, like what other people thought of old types of RPGs and new types of RPGs. And they were all kind of saying the same thing. Like, they really enjoyed the way things were taught or shown in old RPGs, even though there was a lot of bugs, there were a lot of things like graphic glitches, a lot of plot holes in the story. It's just it just felt open, you know, like pretty open to choosing what you want to do. You don't know exactly what your path is, but I think, like you were saying, they follow this formula, and you can feel it too when you're playing a
Hmm.
game.
It's
You already
predictable, yeah.
know, yeah, you already know exactly what you're gonna do. You already know what your end goal is, and all that. When I play Zelda, I'm like, what am I doing? I can go over here and start fishing. I can do this and do that. You know, it's just I don't know. That's the thing I'm having trouble pinpointing is what really
What
makes it completely different from old games and new games.
Yeah, and what really the difference is, right? I
Yeah.
think I have a couple analogies in my head, um, where the games nowadays feel like um, a Jerry Bruckheimer movie. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Transformers, Pirates of the Caribbean. There's a lot of flash, but not so much substance there. You know, it's exciting to
Yeah.
look at, exciting. You know, explosions fucking everywhere. Jerry Bruckheimer just blows up everything. You know, in his movies, and that's it. You know, you watch stuff blow up, you kind of sleep through the talking, more stuff blows up, sleep through a little bit more talking, more stuff blows up. You know, that's how I feel video games are now. It's just the quick hits, just gets you excited for the moment. You go through these lulls where they try to tell a story. um some people are successful at it just because if the story is good, some people aren't so successful at it. um and then I feel games back in the day were kind of like uh Christopher Nolan movie, you know,
Mm.
Inception, Dark Knight, um The Prestige, where there's a lot of story interwoven. You find out things as you go along, and there's action in it too, and that's satisfying. But hearing more about the story as well is satisfying. So
Yeah.
I think there was just a lot more depth, a lot more thought put into games back in the day, because it wasn't really as mainstream as it is now. And I'm not complaining about that. I think video games are in a great place right now. I mean, look at the graphics we have and what we're able to play now, and VR and shit. It's amazing. But there's a shallowness to it that I miss. And when I play games like Chrono Trigger, like Brave Fencer Musashi, I get pulled back and I just think, man, this was the golden age of games where all this shit meant something, and it was way more satisfying. You know, it wasn't just explosions and that quick hit or that instant gratification, right? Where you just get that, and that adrenaline carries you for however long. I mean, you're intrigued the whole time in these old video games. So, and another thing I was thinking about is maybe it's because development for video games has gone more from Japan, where it originated, and more to here in the US.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we have this style in the US, and the way of storytelling is completely different from the way it is in Japan. I think we talked here before about how they were talking about I watched that documentary about Mifune, and they said a love story in Japan is supposed to be awkward. You know, there's those little quirks and little nuances and intricacies in these old games that's just awkward. You know what I mean? And you just sit there and you laugh at it. Like in Final Fantasy VII, your Cloud, you have to dress up as a chick and try to get picked up by Don Corneo, man. But where else are you doing that in a video game? You know, in it you have to get a wig, a dress, and stuff. Where you get the wig from is from these cross dressers that work out, so you have to do squats against them. Like, what other video game are you doing this in, man? It's
yeah, exactly.
It's crazy, and it's just this wacky story that is part of the whole thing of saving the world, right?
Yeah,
it's wild. So I think that's what it's missing, those little quirks that made it fun, and that different style of storytelling is for sure what's missed nowadays. I think some of the games that get it and are a good combination are like Uncharted, man. Which Uncharted's have you played?
1 through 3. I haven't played the latest, number 4 yet.
Oh, okay. See, that one I think is a good mix. It doesn't take itself too seriously. You know, Nathan Drake is just the ultimate bro. Yeah. He just doesn't take anything seriously. I like how in the end of the second game, when you fight the boss, he's like, "You're a murderer. You've killed hundreds of people," and you're sitting there thinking, "I really have, dude." Kill count is fucking super high, man. So I think when you come to that realization, it's crazy, and it's at the end of the second video game. So I think as well. So I think Naughty Dog is doing great work, that game, and The Last of Us, dude. That one had a good story where you think you're doing one thing, which is just delivering this girl over to the Fireflies, but throughout the course of the journey it grows into something more, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, man, there's just not too many video games like that anymore. And maybe there doesn't have to be, right? Maybe you need a bunch of fluff and a bunch of filler to keep yourself occupied with games, and then the more in-depth masterpieces are just every so often, right?
Yeah, like Witcher 3 was pretty good at storytelling, and you know, you can go over here. You don't really have to follow the story quite frequently, but you know, it just felt a little bit open world, knowing that you can start a bar fight, you can do these things, you can go to a whorehouse, which I have never been to. So yeah, basically that's what I was saying. Like, it's just hard for me to really pinpoint what really has changed. But like, even though we can list all of it, I think that the one that mainly changed is, for me, is the world felt huge, you know? Mm-hmm. You're just journeying into the unknown, and the story's building while you're trying to figure out what you have to do to save the world and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you're? Did you mention you're getting that feeling back from Zelda, right?
Yeah. Zelda has well, so far I only just been doing errand missions, but it just has that immersion that I used to feel back in the day. And that's what I miss too. Is just like talking to random NPCs, and they're just building the story with you. And also, I think that the game mechanics too might influence the way games have been played. So, for example, like the Brave Fencer Musashi, I was so shocked by the way they took the camera and shifted it to the way how you play games. Like, so for example, in the first part in chapter 1, I thought it was just going to be a top down kind of situation, but then as soon as you start climbing the tower and getting to different areas of the story, like the camera changes where it becomes like more 3D, and then later down the line you're like running away from a boss or from whatever's chasing you, and it's just the way they use the game mechanics in so many different ways than just you go here to here, point A to point B, and it's a fixed camera. It's just, I was so shocked by the way they use the game mechanics in that game. And that's what I also miss too in like some of the old games. Like, have you played Legend of Dragoon?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just miss the way you
R.I.P. What's his name? Lavitz? Spoilers?
I think it's Lavitz.
Does Lavitz die, or who takes his spot? Because I remember he dies, and then someone takes his spot who's exactly like him. Okay, yeah, Albert takes his spot. He has the same exact moves, same armor.
Yeah. But I just enjoy the combat of just pressing square, triangle, right at the right moment to finish their little attacks.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But that is what I believe I see. That's different between the two games is, like you were saying, you already know like what's coming next, where you have to go, and it's kind of like directing you. But you have like games like Mario RPG where you have to save the princess, but you can do so many different things. And so Zelda is pretty good, whether it's on the 3DS or whether it's N64. They're pretty good at still keeping that immersion of the unknown.
Yeah, I feel that. And I think that's what it is too. There's definitely tutorials in the beginning of Brave Fencer Musashi, and they're telling you how to use your swords and how you can assimilate people's powers and things like that. But they don't just throw it in your face. They make it interactive, and they make you do it, and then they put you in another situation where you don't really know what you're doing, but you remember, oh, hey, that's right, I could assimilate people's powers and use them to keep this barrier down, or use it to interact with the environment around me. Exactly. It makes you think. It doesn't really hold your hand through anything, and I think that's one thing with it as well that brings up the immersion is not only is the character grinding out and learning these new abilities, but you are too, right? As a player, they give you this set of skills and this set of parameters that you can work with, and breaking that and thinking outside the box and doing different things with it than what they just showed you. I think it's crazy, and it's not done too much. And like you said, it could be just because it's linear. I think the biggest, at least to me, the biggest perpetrator is like the Call of Duty series. It's shoot stuff, maybe feel bad about suffering and dying that's going on, and then cutscene, which is just someone talking over pictures, and you don't really feel connected. For a long time, I had no idea what was going on in COD 4. I had no idea. I just knew someone was trying to launch some nukes, and then I had to stop it, right? And then Modern Warfare 2 came out, and you find out it's connected because something or other, and you're like, okay, maybe this is starting to make a little bit of sense. We're just traveling the world shooting people, shooting Russians. And then you jump onto Modern Warfare 3 and you go, okay, what the hell? Everybody's at war now? Just because, what? That one I think is the biggest perpetrator. And yeah, just recent sequels, like I said, like Skyrim and Fallout, man. I had Fallout, the newest one, for maybe 2 hours, and I returned it so quick. By the way, Steam, that's an amazing feature that you have there, that you can return digitally downloaded games. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think that's it too, is the NPCs. So like, were there a lot of NPCs in Fallout 4 where it helps build the world around you, or were you kind of like by yourself looking for scavenging stuff?
Huh. I'm gonna say from my experience, you do start alone, right? So essentially, a nuke gets dropped, and as it's getting dropped, you're trying to escape, so you go to a bomb shelter, right?
Yeah.
And then you wake up and find out everybody's dead. But while everybody was alive before the bomb dropped, you had like this robot servant at your house.
Uh-huh.
So then once you escape the bomb shelter and leave, the robot servant kind of fills you in on everything that's happened.
Oh, really?
Which I guess is one way of doing it, but it takes a while before you get to your first town and really talk to people.
Yeah.
And with that, I don't know, maybe that's what it is. Maybe, yeah, it just takes itself too seriously. I mean, with Brave Fencer Musashi, they were cracking jokes, breaking the fourth wall, and like talking to you as the player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what. Maybe they just didn't take themselves too seriously, and they knew they were video games, and not something deeper than that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, because I mean, even with Brave Fencer Musashi, I know for a fact that the world is small, right? I mean, it's not as big as Grand Theft Auto, that's for sure. But it's so much more rich because of the interactions you have with, like you said, the NPCs. So.
Yeah, and it just made me remember, like when I was playing City of Heroes, you have those, after you beat a hard boss, mission, raid, or whatnot, you go back to Atlas, and you have random NPCs walking around just saying, "Oh, did you hear Cold Overkill saved the day?"
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
they talk about what you just did. Yeah,
and everybody around that NPC like can hear it or see that person talking about it, and that's what I was like, man, this made me even more immersed in this kind of game. Just the small things like that just help builds the world, makes me role play even more stronger than before. So
yeah, that's a good one. That's a good way of looking at it, is role playing into the actual game. I'll be remiss if I don't mention games like Limbo and Inside. I think they were made by the same company, but it's just a side scroller kind of puzzle game where you go through and you figure out these different puzzles all while trying to escape enemies and things like that. There's not one piece of dialogue, yet you just get lost in it because you want to know what's happening. You want to know what goes on next. So I think they do a good job at changing it. Have you played Journey?
No, I've seen my cousin play it. Even though there's like barely talking,
yeah,
the main character, you're just journeying into the unknown, figuring out like how to save it and stuff like that. And I'm like, that was pretty immersive.
Yeah, Journey was crazy too, and a lot of it was the environment and the music that did it for me. There's this point in the game where you have a companion or someone that joins you and it just looks exactly like you, right?
Yeah.
And they don't tell you anything about, oh, this is another player that just jumped in your game. They don't mention that at all, dude. It's just another guy that jumps in there and you're playing with him. And you don't even know, I don't think they tell you until the end what even that person's gamer tag is, if they do at all. So it's just this crazy different way of like presenting a game. And I think if people are more progressive and experiment more and do gaming like that, I think we'll be in for a good run. Hopefully these days of being formulaic are over, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just want to like not, I know it's kind of predictable, but I just want to know that I'm in control of role playing the way I want to do things. I'll save the world eventually, but let me, go over here and start fishing and stuff like that. Talk to the townsfolk and all that. But I know there's a lot of games, new modern games. They're pretty good at capturing the gamer's attention in different ways, but I just miss that one formula from like the olden games, like Super Mario World. I was so hooked on just playing that game. It felt so massive too. It's just so many different levels, so many different things.
And the secrets, since you could fly, right, as the raccoon and shit.
Yeah. So it's just, the world is big, and that's what I enjoy the most. But right now I'm like, I don't know, like Final Fantasy the 14, like I love the gameplay and all that, but I just know that the map kind of feels kind of seclusive, so you don't have NPCs talking to you. They're just doing their daily things of selling stuff to you and all that, and then I'm pretty sure that most of the players skip the dialogue of all the NPCs talking. So I don't know. To me, I think that kind of breaks immersion a little bit. But I just remember like Ragnarok Online, and it was pretty immersive. Even though some of the things weren't, told directly, you had to go find out things. Like my cousin was telling me, like there's stories of in a certain town, where they kidnap other player NPCs to experiment them on, and you have to go save them and stuff like that, and you don't know that unless you talk to this random NPC that's not part of side quest, doesn't show anything, and that's what kind of helped build the story too. It's just knowing that there's this guy's story out there, this person's NPC story, this whatnot, this all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, because that was always a need, right? Where like in Final Fantasy VII or any of those games where you have to talk to every NPC like 3 times just to see if their dialogue changed at all.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think in the grand scheme of things, it really didn't matter what they said, but to build the story, to make you feel more immersed, to feel like the world was more alive and breathing, that dialogue needed to be in there, even though if it was just 2 lines or 2 different variations. It just makes the game feel more alive than just them not being able to talk to you, So
yeah, exactly. And that's like how it was in like a little bit in Xenogears, where you start off with certain party members and you go through like a town and you're like, oh, talking to all the NPCs, and they're like, hey, hi, nice to meet you and all that. But then when one of like a famous person that everybody in the town knows joins your party, they're like, oh, hey, we'll give you a discount. Oh, hey, thanks for saving us. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's just inspiring to know that these games are developing differently than how it originally used to be. But I do have that nostalgic feeling of how it used to be.
Yeah. Do you get that from Dark Souls and Bloodborne? I know they have NPCs that come up, it seems randomly, and you get to talk to them and they have their own stories. But did you get that feeling with those games?
No, because if to me it felt like it was you're pretty much alone in the world, and the only thing that maybe it could be because I didn't have party members, in my party to have my back, but it just felt like I was always alone inside all of the Dark Souls, all of the Bloodborne, and I'm like this lone hero trying to save the world from the catastrophe that's going on. But the NPCs, my interaction with them was more like, are you gonna sell me something, or are you gonna give me whatever you got? Do I even need to be here to save you? If not, I'm out of here, kind of mentality. So I don't know. That's what I was saying. It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what's going on, but you can tell that the old type of games, they have this formula where it grabs you, like Mega Man 8. You just want to beat all of the bosses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm surprised you didn't feel that, especially in. So I really only have experience with Dark Souls and Bloodborne, but you didn't feel like the NPCs added anything to that story, like in the beginning when you talked to that one.
I would say Bloodborne was the only one that really did. Because like you met like a doctor beyond the door, you met this boss who's turning crazy, you met, and then they're like kind of giving their little story of why they're going crazy or attacking you or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Dark Souls, all of the Dark Souls, I kind of felt isolated.
That's interesting, dude. I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe because you didn't do the side quests or like the quests involved with those people, because it gets kind of wild, man. It gets kind of wild where you remember in Dark Souls where you meet that lady with her 2 bodyguards.
I don't remember. Oh, so wait, doesn't she like go somewhere and then she ends up dying or something? Or their bodyguards die or something like that.
Yeah, she ends up underground and tricked into being down there. And then that one guy who gets you into your first covenant or whatever guild or something, he asks you to go down there and save her, and you just unlock this other kind of mini quest. Because all you have to really do in Dark Souls is what? Ring the 2 bells, right? Ring the one at the top of the thing and ring the one down at the bottom. But I feel like there's so much more that happens in that game. So I'm kind of surprised. I don't know that you didn't get it from there. But I think Bloodborne has a good way of telling stories to the NPCs too. For example, the samurai, right? You got the samurai sword, didn't you?
The katana?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot how I got the katana. I think maybe I murder somebody?
Yeah, because so essentially there's this other hunter. Her name is Eileen the Crow, and her job is to hunt other hunters, essentially. She's like an assassin, So you help her a couple times, and one of the people that you help her kill is the one that has that katana. So maybe it's just because it's been a while since you played it, but I think you'll enjoy it a lot more, especially with the concerns we have of all these games changing and stuff. And then Dark Souls 3 has some good side quests. I mean, the main thing in that game is to do this ritual by getting these 5 different pieces. But along the way, getting those 5 different pieces, there's people you run into every now and then. And then, like you said, when things change in the world, they mention it, or things change with them,
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think there's a big one in Bloodborne too, right? Like once the sky turns red, everybody starts acting differently. Your actions affect them in some type of way. So
yeah,
that's interesting, man. It's just weird. I guess we're growing up. I guess that's what it is. And video games are growing up too. It's things can't stay stagnant forever, and things got to change from one way to another. So hopefully they change for the better. I guess if you get anything out of what we're talking about, it's hopefully they improve, and find the greatest mix of good graphics while telling the story that Brave Fencer Musashi or Final Fantasy VII portrays, with all of its quirks and Japanese storytelling and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. But that is it for us, dude. A little bit of a short episode, but we made it, dude. Episode 10. It's like, woo! Crazy, right?
Yeah. Dude, time went by so fast,
Yeah.
So,
dude, we've done this once a week, and it's been 10 weeks, dude.
Comic-Con's over. Yeah, 10 weeks. Jeez.
So, when we started this, we were counting down to E3, right?
Yeah.
E3's come and gone.
E3? Yeah.
Anime Expo's come and gone, and Comic-Con has come and gone. It's been a wild 10 weeks, man. But if there's anything that I know is what's going on, is I'm going to talk to my boy Rick on Hot Couch Potato, dude. So it's been good times, man.
We're 50. Oh my god.
Well, yeah, man, it's been good times. Definitely appreciate you, taking your time with me, dude, just to bullshit about video games, man.
Yeah, man, this is gonna be for life.
All right, dude,
we're gonna be millionaires.
But yeah, well, I mean, we mentioned that it's our 10th episode, 10th week of doing this. We got something special cooking up in celebration. I guess all I'll say is just keep an eye out on the channel. We're gonna open up a new one soon. On YouTube called Hot Couch Potato Plays or something like that. I don't know if we come up with something clever. But we'll be playing some games on there, and just talking through our experiences and what it's like. We got something crazy. We got something crazy coming. That's all I got to say. So just keep an eye out for that. Next week, I want to go more in depth on Bloodborne, man. You're still in the process of playing your New Game Plus, right?
Yeah. I just got done beating the first 2 bosses, I think. But okay. I'm pretty lost, and yeah.
Right on, man. Yeah, I think I'll start playing it. Definitely got to get the DLC. Hopefully when I'll load up my save file and see where I'm at. Maybe we can play together, man. But yeah, we'll go more in depth. I think I mentioned a few weeks ago I read this fan-made 90-page, 60-page document telling about the story of Bloodborne. It made me appreciate the game so much more. I was surprised
you even read all 60 pages.
Slow work day, bro. Slow work day. So we'll definitely talk about that. Again, one of my more favorite games too. So yeah, before then, Rick, let's get some words of wisdom.
Sunday. Big used car can't sell Sunday.
Alright, guys, peace.